All right.
So
So more importantly, actually, if you want to bring up this chart in a minute, Ewok, um, if you want to look real quick at that pulse to pulse X ratio, because that is the nice thing that has been staying there. We've talked about this, you and I personally, since launch. You just talked about Hart's Law and everything. Pulse X has had like 3 times the sackers that Pulse did, and we have seen it basically stay between 3 and 4. I'll say it this way. So you want to look at like Pulse to Pulse X. So 1 to 3 or 1 to 4. So basically that you could get 4 Pulse X or 3 Pulse X for every 1 Pulse you could buy. And that's good that it's remained in that range, whether Pulse was 2 or 3x off of the sack price, which it was at one point, or now when everything is depressed and they're both way under the sack price. The fact that that ratio has remained the same, I'm going to pull it up live right now and see what we are at. But last I looked, it was about 3.55 Pulse X to Pulse. So, yep, that's exactly where we're at right now.
mhm.
So that's good. That means so the ratio is the Pulse to Pulse X is 0.282. It's been as low as like 0.25, 0.02, or 0.25 that I've seen. So that's right in line. It's healthy and it's where you want things to be. And the fact that we've had this much fluctuation and it has stayed there, I think is a really good sign.
Yep, I agree. I agree. And it's all because of the liquidity that's bonded it so close together. Um, it's playing out perfectly.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Let me ask you this, Ewok, because there's going to be a lot of game theory as people were obviously primarily in EHEX prior to this happening. They got their PHEX copies, they got other ERC20 copies. But looking at, like, many people will still look at the Hex, Pulse, PulseX portions of their portfolio as kind of like that Richard Hart ecosystem part of their portfolio. Some people are all in on this. Some people have it as a portion of their portfolio, whatever. But how would you personally, I'm not telling you to recommend anything for anybody else, but just you personally, and I'll share mine too. How would you, as somebody who is like OG Hexagon day one, has the t-shirt literally, what would you like to be allocated with across EHEX, PHEX, and now Pulse and Pulse X? Is it something where you want to be even in all 3 or 4 or whatever you want to say of those buckets? One way more than the other? How are you kind of looking at it right now?
I still think that Hex is our money printer.
Hmm.
So my opinion hasn't really changed too much. I still think I'm going to stay 60 to 70% Hex. And then probably 15%. Well, I mean, that's all going to change with value, right? As the price goes up, these percentages will change, and I don't think I'll swap out at that point. But that was my goal, was to be about 70% Hex and then 15% Pulse and 15% Pulse X, only because they're at the bottom. Once their value increases, I think Hexes will at the same time. So we'll see how they kind of run up together. But I still think Hex is the better option. Now, there's been a lot of talk of people selling their EHEX to get it over to PHEX because it's cheaper to transact. What we have to understand is that if people leave the system on EHEX, the payout is going to be better. There's going to be less people staked, which means your Hex per T share value goes up. And I think people kind of flock back into that because they want the better rewards. So it's almost like a self-correcting system. The rewards kind of make up for whatever it is. If the volume of people go down, the rewards go up, and it kind of entices people to get in there. Money gets treated better over there. So, it self-balances. And I don't see it changing a whole lot. It may be the rich man's side of things, like the whales may favor that, if they're getting better payouts, but it is more expensive to transact. So
Hmm.
we'll see what happens as parity reaches. Well, it's going to be interesting.
It absolutely will, yeah. Just as a side note, it looks like money must be flowing in. I don't think PLS burn, the bridge tracker must be updating too much, but I'm seeing values take a big tick up here just as we're talking. Pulse actually now is at 4 zeros and an 8.4. Pulse X almost, well, it was up over the 4 zeros and a 2 now, actually, a moment ago. Yeah, everything just took a nice little bounce up. So we'll see. It looks like maybe some money's starting to free up here. So that would be a good sign. I personally, and maybe it's just how I like to do things, but I'm kind of more looking myself, and maybe it's just because of the specific gains I'm looking at in this market right now. But I think I kind of want to be at a third of each one of those assets, like between ehex and phex. I'm kind of just putting in the bucket of hex, and assuming that there's going to be price parity. But between Pulse and Pulse X, I kind of want to have 33% of each one of those, I think, in there. But that sounds all terrific in an ideal world, but we're going to see, as we already have, massive fluctuations in this stuff.
Yeah.
And there's going to be nonsensical, like times where it's totally, this is clearly the one to buy, the other one would be nonsensical to buy, if some whale money came in. So that's going to happen, and it's going to be a long time till I would hit any kind of allocation. So that's something to keep in mind too. You can have these like nice little plans that the market just totally shits on, because
exactly, and it's never going to play out the way you want, because you're not going to anticipate the price gains either. So one coin may go up at first by 100x or whatever, and the other one kind of lags behind. Don't do anything crazy to balance them out, because that could easily be followed by the other coin going up just as much. So,
right.
Don't get upset if your ratio. That's why I don't think it really matters a whole lot. Maybe what you want to start out at, while it's early, but after some time, I don't think that matters a whole lot. Um, I think you get what you can, buy the dips that you can, and try and keep it as even as you think you may want it. But like I said, as the price starts to fluctuate, it's going to throw it all out of whack anyway.
HexPassiveIncome.com. My friend Crypto Coffee has created what I think is probably the best course for a new cryptocurrency investor. Not only that, but these courses usually charge an arm and a leg. Crypto Coffee is only charging $200. I think right now he actually has a discount for $150. I have a link below in the description. If you are new to crypto, do not understand Hex and how it works, click the link below. It's a quick, easy course. He only gives you the basics. I personally, myself, have thought about creating an intro to crypto course in the past. I don't think there's any reason to do so, because Matt, Crypto Coffee, has already taken care of that. And I don't think anything needs to be added by anybody else. So check it out. The link is in the description, and sign up to Hex Passive Income today.